Heirloom seeds are generally considered to be seeds that are at least 50 years old. Most of them are much older than that. They can be hundreds of years old. And they're seeds that are still around today only because people have grown them out and saved them every few years, passed them down through families and through generations. So they're seeds that are plants from the past.
Right. So why historically have they disappeared?
Well, a couple of reasons. First of all, gardening is as susceptible to fashion as fashion, and many of them just fell out of flavor because the flavor of the month was to have something big and bold and bigger flowers, etc. And so heirlooms tended to get forgotten and put aside in favor of the new and improved. So that's one of the reasons. The other is that as seed companies became subsumed within each other, and we got larger and larger seed companies, but fewer and fewer of them, and we lost our small regional companies. Large companies are interested in what sells the most, and so they would narrow their range to what they can sell lots of. And a lot of heirlooms don't sell a lot, and so they tend to get dropped.
And I guess some of the varietals that would have historically been really good flavor and stuff wouldn't necessarily have shipped well, that kind of stuff, right?
Well, this is it. As plant breeding changed and as agriculture became industrial, the characteristics of heirlooms that make them so great for home gardeners and small market growers don't translate well to industrial agriculture. They don't ship well. They don't mature all at the same time. They can't be picked green and gassed into ripeness, and so they never lent themselves well to agriculture on a very large scale.
And I guess some of them, I'm thinking of things like the Arkansas Traveler tomato or the brand new one, or they look like tumorous tomatoes, right? They're not the most attractive looking thing.
No, and again, what we've, over the probably the last 50 or 60 years, we've become pretty homogenized and bland in terms of our expectations of what vegetables look like. So we think tomatoes should all be red and round, carrots should be long and orange, cucumbers should be green, and in actual fact, the vegetable world used to be so diverse, and that's what heirlooms still give us. And you get all kinds of odd shapes and sizes and colors, and that diversity is what makes them so special. And that is actually the most important reason to save heirlooms. Number one, heirloom vegetables have taste, and that's what people first come for. But most importantly, heirloom vegetables or heirloom plants of any kind are open pollinated. And as a result of that, that means that they pollinate themselves, or they can be cross-pollinated with each other. As a result of that, they have a very broad genetic base, whereas modern plant breeding is based on breeding two parents incestuously over and over and over again, and modern hybrids have very narrow genetic bases. So we lose heirlooms, we lose part of our genetic diversity, and you can't get that back.
So let's talk about that. Given that there is a decrease in the varieties of seeds, where do you get your seeds? How do you manage to keep the varieties going?
Well, I do a lot of research. Over the winter is when I do my research, and what I do is I go to a lot of small seed companies and go through their catalogs, because heirlooms aren't necessarily identified as such. But there may be smaller companies where they're still offering varieties that they've offered for a while. There are also some organizations that have seed exchanges and that are dedicated to preserving old varieties, and Seeds of Diversity is one in Canada. Seed Savers Exchange is a really well-known one in the States, and they're dedicated to try and preserve those old ones. And even though we've lost probably 80% of the heirlooms that once were available commercially, we still have hundreds and hundreds of varieties. I mean, we carry 650 varieties, and I don't carry them all. So there still are lots, but they just have to be actively kept going.
Okay. So 2 questions. How can the ordinary Canadian sort of contribute to that stock? And the second question is, how do people buy seeds from you? Do you online, or do you have to come into a store, or what?
Well, first question, people can, the key is for the average person to maybe introduce one heirloom variety into their garden. If they could do that, that would be wonderful, because when you buy from a company that sells heirloom seeds, you're helping to keep those seeds going. The second thing that people can do is maybe commit to save one variety. And if it's a bean or a pea or a tomato, they're pretty easy to save. And if they just pick one and commit to saving that and maybe spreading the seeds around and distributing them, that's pretty much all we can ask for. It's definitely a groundswell effort.
And how do people get the seeds?
Okay, from us, we're primarily a mail order company. We have a website.
What's the website?
Primarily people order through the website. It's www.cottagegardener.com.
Okay, cool. And do you have a catalog online, or a print catalog?
We have a shopping cart. We have a print catalog that's available free, and we also have a shopping cart with lots of colorful pictures so people can see what these look like.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.